Okay, so picture this. You're 25 years old, you just got your first real job, and you're making $50,000 a year. You decide to wait just 1 year before you start investing because, you want to get settled first, maybe buy some furniture, enjoy life a little. Just 12 months. What's the big deal, right? That 1 year delay, it's going to cost you $198,000 by the time you're 65. And here's the thing, nobody told you that. Nobody sat you down and said, hey, that small decision you're making right now, that casual little choice to wait, it's actually one of the most expensive decisions of your entire life. My name is Elon Musk, and I spend way too much time thinking about how we completely underestimate the long-term consequences of our everyday financial decisions. If you're someone who's making decent money but somehow can't seem to get ahead, or you look at your bank account and wonder where all your money actually goes, or you're constantly telling yourself you'll start saving next year, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because what I'm about to show you is going to fundamentally change how you think about every dollar you spend or don't invest. And I mean that literally. Look, we live in a world that's obsessed with big financial disasters. We talk about people losing their houses in 2008. We talk about crypto crashes. We talk about gambling addictions and catastrophic business failures. And yeah, those are real problems. But here's what most people don't realize. The financial mistakes that actually ruin most people's lives aren't dramatic at all. They're boring, they're small. They're the kind of things you do without even thinking about them. Let me give you a real example. There's this study from the Employee Benefit Research Institute that found that the median retirement account balance for Americans aged 55 to 64 is $120,000. Sounds like a decent chunk of money, right? Until you realize that at a 4% withdrawal rate, that's $4,800 a year to live on. $4,800 per year, that's $400 a month. Now here's where it gets really interesting. That same study found that if those same people had just started saving 10% of their income at age 25 instead of age 35, their median balance would be closer to $380,000. That's more than 3 times as much money. From the same contributions, same salary growth, same everything. The only difference, starting 10 years earlier. 10 years, not a lifetime, not some impossible standard, just 10 years. So here's the thing about compound interest that nobody really explains properly. We all know the quote, right? Compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. We've heard it a million times, but what does that actually mean in your life? Let's do the math with real numbers because this is where people's brains they don't connect the dots. Say you're 25 years old and you invest $5,000 a year. Just $5,000. That's about $417 a month, which is less than most people spend on eating out and entertainment combined. You do this for 10 years, then you stop completely. You don't add another dollar. At an average 8% annual return, which is below the historical stock market average, by age 65, you'll have $787,000. Now let's say your friend waits until they're 35 to start. They invest the same $5,000 a year, but they do it for 30 years straight. They're putting in 3 times as much total money as you did. You put in $50,000 total. They put in $150,000. They end up with $611,000. You end up with $176,000 more than them, even though you invested $100,000 less. That's the long shadow. That's what we're talking about here. Now you might be thinking, okay, but I've heard this before. This is just the stop buying lattes argument, right? Another financial guru telling me I can't enjoy my life. No, look, I'm not here to tell you that your $5 coffee is ruining your life. That's not what this is about. In fact, the whole latte factor thing kind of misses the point entirely, and it's actually doing more harm than good. Here's why: when we focus on small daily expenses, we create this culture of financial guilt and deprivation. People start thinking that wealth building means you can't enjoy anything. But the math doesn't support that at all. If you buy a $5 coffee every single day for a year, that's $1,825. If you invested that instead at 8% for 40 years, yes, it would become about $47,000. But you know what? That's not what's actually keeping you from building wealth. What is keeping you from building wealth is that you're not automatically investing anything at all. The problem isn't the coffee. The problem is that your default setting is to spend everything that hits your bank account and then maybe invest what's left over. Which, spoiler alert, is always going to be nothing. The real long shadows, they come from these decisions. 1. Not contributing to your 401k up to the company match. This is literally free money. According to Vanguard's 2023 report, about 24% of employees don't contribute enough to get their full employer match. If your employer matches 4% and you're not taking it on a $60,000 salary, you're giving away $2,400 a year, over 30 years at 8% growth. You're leaving $734,000 on the table. For nothing, for literally doing nothing. 2. Carrying credit card debt while having a savings account. I see this all the time, and it makes me want to pull my hair out. People keep $5,000 in a savings account earning 0.5% interest while paying 22% interest on $8,000 of credit card debt. The math here is so straightforward it hurts. Every year you do this, you're burning about $1,700 in interest payments while earning $25 in savings interest. You're losing $1,675 a year. That's $1,675 that could be growing for you instead of making credit card companies rich. 3. Not negotiating your salary. Here's a stat that should make you uncomfortable. According to a survey by Fidelity, only 37% of people negotiate their job offers. And women negotiate even less than men. But here's what that costs you. If you start at $60,000 instead of $65,000 because you didn't negotiate, and you get 3% raises every year, after 40 years you'll have earned $634,000 less. $634,000 from one conversation you were too uncomfortable to have. Now this is where it gets really interesting, because understanding the math is only half the battle. The real question is, why do we keep making these mistakes when the consequences are so clear? And the answer is actually kind of fascinating from a psychological perspective. Our brains are literally not wired to think about compound growth. We're wired for immediate threats and immediate rewards. When a tiger is chasing you, you don't think about your retirement portfolio. You think about the next 10 seconds. This thing called hyperbolic discounting means we value immediate rewards way more than future rewards, even when the future rewards are much, much larger. In studies, people would rather have $50 today than $100 in a year, even though that's a 100% return that you literally cannot find anywhere in the real world. But here's what's changed for me and what I want to change for you. Once you start seeing money as buying time rather than buying things, everything shifts. That $200 you spend on something you don't really need, that's not $200. That's $2,000 in 30 years at 8% growth. That $2,000, that's roughly a month of living expenses in retirement. You just traded a purchase you'll forget about in a week for a month of your future freedom. And look, I'm not saying never spend money on anything. That's not realistic and it's not healthy. But what I am saying is that every financial decision is actually a trade-off between your current self and your future self. And most of us are letting our current self completely dominate that negotiation. Here's another long shadow that people don't talk about enough: lifestyle creep. This is genuinely one of the most dangerous financial patterns, and it happens to almost everyone. You get a raise, let's say you're making $60,000 and you get bumped up to $70,000. That's $10,000 more a year, about $650 more per month after taxes. And you think, great, now I can afford that nicer apartment, or finally, I can get a newer car. And just like that, your entire raise is gone. You're not saving any more than you were before. You're not investing any more than you were before. Your net worth trajectory hasn't changed at all. The only thing that's changed is that you're now trapped in a more expensive lifestyle. According to research from the Federal Reserve, the savings rate barely changes as people earn more. People making $100,000 don't save twice as much as people making $50,000. They just spend twice as much. Here's the move that changed everything for me. Every time you get a raise, immediately increase your investment contribution by half of that raise. You get a 6% raise, boost your 401k contribution by 3%. You still get to enjoy some lifestyle improvement, but you're also compounding your wealth at the same rate as your income. Because here's the truth: if you can't build wealth on $60,000, you probably can't build wealth on $100,000 either. The income isn't the problem. The system is the problem. Let me talk about cars for a second, because this is where I see people absolutely destroy their financial futures without even realizing it. The average new car payment in America right now is $738 a month, according to $738 for 72 months on average. That's over 6 years of payments. Now imagine instead of that car payment, you bought a reliable used car for $15,000 in cash, and you invested that $738 a month for those 6 years. At 8% return, you'd have $68,000 after those 6 years. And if you kept investing that $738 a month for the next 30 years, you'd have $1.1 million. $1.1 million, or a new car that'll be worth $8,000 in 6 years. This is the long shadow. This is what we're not seeing. We think we're just choosing a car. We're not. We're choosing between a car and $1 million. Now you might be thinking, but Elon, what about housing? I need a place to live, and everyone says buying a house is a great investment. Look, housing is complicated, and I'm not going to tell you that buying is always bad or renting is always bad. But I'm going to tell you that the way most people buy houses is financial self-sabotage. Here's the rule that makes sense. Your total housing costs shouldn't exceed 25% of your gross income, not 28%, not 30%, not whatever the bank will approve you for. 25%. But the average American, they're spending 32% of their gross income on housing according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And in high-cost cities, people are stretching to 40%, 50%, even 60% of their income. Every percent above 25% is a percent you're not investing. Every percent above 25% is a percent that's not compounding for your future. If you make $80,000 a year and you spend 35% on housing instead of 25%, that's $8,000 a year that you're not investing. Over 30 years, that's $980,000 in lost wealth. Almost $1 million because you wanted a nicer kitchen. Okay, so what do we actually do about all this? Because understanding the problem is useless if we don't change our behavior. Here's the framework that works. Step 1, automate your future, not your spending, your future. Set up automatic transfers on the day you get paid, not at the end of the month after you've spent everything. The day you get paid, 10% minimum goes straight into investments. If you never see the money, you'll never miss it. This is the single most important thing you can do. Step 2, get the free money first. Max out your employer 401k match before you do anything else. This is a guaranteed 50% to 100% return on your money depending on your employer's match structure. There is literally no investment anywhere that can beat that. Step 3, kill high-interest debt like your life depends on it, because financially it kind of does. Any debt over 7% interest is an emergency. Not a problem, an emergency. Pay it off before you invest beyond your employer match. The guaranteed return from paying off 18% credit card debt is better than any investment you'll find. Step 4, increase your contribution rate every single year. Commit right now to increasing your investment contribution by 1% every January. Just 1%. You won't even notice it, but after 10 years, you'll be saving 10% more of your income. That's transformative. Step 5, make big financial decisions slowly. Car, house, major purchases. Sleep on them for 30 days. I'm serious, 30 days. Write down what you want to buy and why. Come back to it in a month. If you still want it just as much and you can actually afford it without derailing your financial plan, then consider it. But you'd be shocked how many purchases lose their appeal when you wait. Here's the thing that finally clicked for me, and I want it to click for you. Building wealth isn't about being cheap. It's not about deprivation. It's not about never enjoying your money. It's about recognizing that every dollar you control is a little employee working for you. And compound interest is like having your employees train new employees, who train more employees, who train more employees. When you spend $1 on something that doesn't bring you real value, you're not just losing that dollar. You're firing that employee and all the future employees they would have trained. But when you invest that dollar, you're hiring an employee who will work for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for the rest of your life, and will train an army of other employees to do the same. The wealthy understand this instinctively. They see money as employees. The rest of us see money as something to spend. That's the difference. Look, I know this stuff isn't fun to think about. I know it's uncomfortable to realize that decisions you made 5 or 10 years ago are still costing you money today and will continue to cost you money for decades to come. But here's the good news. The long shadow works both ways. The small financial decisions you make today for your future, they're going to pay you back for the rest of your life. Every dollar you invest today is going to work harder for you than you could ever work for it. You're not too late, you're not too behind, you haven't missed your chance, but you do need to start today, not next month, not next year, today. Because the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is right now. Set up that automatic transfer before you close this video. Increase your 401k contribution by even just 1%. Do something, anything, that your future self will thank you for. The long shadow of small financial mistakes is real, but so is the long shadow of small financial wins. Which shadow do you want following you? If this video helped you see money differently, hit that like button and subscribe because I make videos like this every week. Drop a comment and tell me, what's one small financial change you're going to make today? Your future self is watching. Make them proud.